Life in the Middle Ages wasn't easy. The times were marked by famine, disease, and near constant warfare and violence. Didn't the people have any way of protecting themselves from getting sick or killed? Even though the nobles and monarchs had lots of money and power, they couldn't even protect themselves from the famine, disease, and constant warfare that was going on during that time. Wow. I'm not sure I would want to live during that time. It seems like it would be a really hard time to live in. One thing that was very important to the people of that time was their religion. Religious faith was a critical component in the daily life of everyone there. How did religion play an important role in their lives? What did they do to show they were a religious people? They had daily prayer rituals and often prayed several times a day, especially when they sat down to eat a meal. Religion and spiritual faith was of great importance to those who sought to live their lives in service of God. Weren't the monks part of the Middle Ages? Didn't they live a life of service to God? Yes, they did. The life of a monk was not a simple one either. They lived in monasteries so they could get away from the hard work on manor or estate and avoid unnecessary military conflict. I don't know if I could be a monk. It would be hard to be away from my family all the time. And what would I do without my phone and my music? Being a monk took a lot of self-discipline. When a monk entered the monastery, he took a vow of obedience. This vow ensured Middle Ages monks would obey the directives given to them and abide by the rules of the monastery. Could anybody be a monk? Sure. Monkhood was available to members of every class of people who chose to pursue it. Monks didn't have much, did they? No, they didn't. But that's the way they wanted it to be. They took a vow of poverty when they went in the monastery. The vow of poverty kept them from owning any land of any kind. Is that the only vow the monks took when they joined the monastery? No. They also took a vow of chastity. I've read that monks did a lot of praying during the day. Yes, they did. Life in the monastery revolved around daily prayer designed to keep the monks' soul pure and prepare for eternal life. I have heard about their Book of Hours. It was their primary prayer book. It had 8 segments for 8 different times during the day. Do you know what time monks got up every morning? Yeah, at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's too early for me. Ha ha ha. I know what you mean. I don't like to get up that early either. But the monks had to get up that early in order to do everything they needed to do for that day. They had their first prayer service at 5 a.m., then another service at 6 a.m. The monks' day would officially begin between 6 and 9 a.m. with breakfast and chores being done as needed. They had a morning break at 9 and then studied until noon. They had another prayer service at 3 p.m. and then again at 5 p.m. The last prayer service of the day was at 6 p.m. They went to bed at 6 p.m. They did get up during the middle of the night for one more prayer service at 2 a.m. The monks were very dedicated prayer warriors. Everything in their lives centered around prayer. Didn't they ever leave the monastery? No, they didn't have to. The monastery was designed to meet any needs the monks had. They were educated there. They were provided medical care, haircuts, and any material possessions they needed right there in the monastery. It seems like the monks worked really hard at the monasteries. They had to harvest the crops, clean, make their own clothes, teach, take care of the sick among them, and cook all of their own meals. I don't know if I could do all of that all the time. It does sound like a lot of work. But that's what they chose for themselves. If they didn't follow the rules, they would be punished. They could be excluded from the group during prayers or even excommunicated for the monastery. Well, thanks for telling me all about the monks. I've learned a lot from our little talk. You're welcome. I hope you understand what it was like to live as a monk during the Middle Ages. The monastery allowed a way of life that was quieter and some ways simpler than life outside its walls. It allowed those who felt called to do so to spend their lived in service to God.